It's time for Big Brother Canada 9 coverage to start. It is March 3rd, 2021. I'm Dave Mader, joined with Jaemeel Robinson here on Super Mader Brothers Podcasting. As mentioned, this was quite the night, Jaemeel. And just for some disclosure, okay, how are you? Sorry, I haven't even given you a chance to say hello. How are you doing?
I'm okay. It would have been better if I had a similar experience to you, i.e., enjoyed this episode. And when I say enjoy, I mean partake in it. And when I say partake in it, I mean actually been able to view it.
Yes. So we are here at 9:00. The episode aired a couple hours ago, I believe. I was doing a Star Trek podcast earlier, and then so I just watched the episode. We met up here. You've had quite the night. You didn't get to see all the episode. You've seen like 10 minutes, but I said, you know what? I can tell you what happened because there was so much that happened. I'm still absorbing it all.
Paint a picture for me. Paint a picture for me.
Here's what happened, Jaemeel. I'm going to tell you. This is a whole new approach to this podcast. So the opening package hits tonight, and it's all about COVID, how it shut down last season, right? So it was kind of like news flashes and kind of like bits of Arissa's commentary. There was news clips from Global, all kinds of things. Trudeau made an appearance. The World Health Organization was mentioned. And they said one thing they did write down. I wrote down was they said we can't go back and change the beginning, but there's still time to change the ending. I was Lord, what does that mean?
If I was any of the contestants from last year, I'll be like, oh, is that the case? Where's my phone call? I don't see myself on television. I don't see myself having a chance to win the money.
Yeah, like there was, in terms of Big Brother Canada 8, who none of those house guests are back. They did not make an appearance tonight. They are not part of this cast. I feel like the production was sour on last season because we haven't talked about this a lot, but they all quit. This is our first time covering Big Brother Canada 9 here on Super Mader Brothers Podcasting, but we did cover Big Brother USA 22. That was our first time doing Big Brother, and this is our first time doing the Canadian version. And like that show just didn't do very well, and so they want to start fresh here. I get it. This cast is exciting. I thought that they did well, but Big Brother 8, I do feel for a lot of those. I feel for that cast. I feel for they didn't get an ending, and for that little bit of commentary in the beginning, it's kind of bittersweet depending on which perspective you want to look at it from.
Because what options do they have? It's not like they have like a resume to come back for an All-Stars. It would have to be some kind of gimmick season where it's like half new, half vets, and they would be like the easiest to pick off because they have, unless they're given immunity like some other people in the US, it's just like such a big target, and your game's already exposed, so you kind of have to figure out a new path, right? It's an unfair situation. It's an unfortunate situation.
It is, and but they also said in the commentary, this is a show for everyone.
Ooh, yeah.
Right. And speaking to what they were going for, and so the whole set, we have many shots of the house that they released and we can show you, but it's effectively the Big Brother Canada 8 house overgrown, as if it was abandoned and like the weeds had all grown and things were sort of left and disheveled. And but they were and everything's wild and untamed. That's kind of like the feeling they're going for. And they really dropped this two teams twist tonight, Jaemeel. This is a whole new format to Big Brother. We're not doing traditional HOHs and POVs and like there are nominees, but this is a very different format. Tomorrow night will be the first eviction.
Ooh.
So it's a whole different thing.
So I already have a question immediately. Is our recently departed house guest already gone, or are they actually still on the show?
Okay. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mention because I didn't get into all the introductions because they were talking about the two teams before that. But
okay, so we're burying the. We'll get to it then. As we mentioned in our preseason preview where we did the draft and we looked at the whole cast, there was originally supposed to be this guy Kyle, right? Was that his name? I think
No,
so,
no, no,
Kyle.
no, no,
No,
no. Sorry, I'm sorry. Kyle's the
E-
replacement. Um,
was it Ethan?
Ethan. I'm sorry, Ethan. Yeah, his name was Ethan, and he was replaced by Kyle because of some very controversial things. We didn't know a lot of the time because this was breaking as we were doing in the last podcast as we were talking about it. I also want to apologize up front. I haven't gotten to this part yet, but I was calling the person I drafted, and I did watch his intro package that day, but I didn't absorb his name. I was calling him Tycon, but his name is actually Tashawn. I apologize.
You know,
For
I did not want to tell you any different because I'm like, Tycon sounds like such a better epic name, and plus it seems like very Battlestar Galactica ish, like, you know, Tycon,
Tycon, like
Gaius Baltar, right? Like,
I didn't mean to mispronounce his name, but especially him being from Montreal, it does make sense that he would go by Deshaun, and that's fine. But sorry, yes. So the person who was replaced, his name was Ethan Quantz. So he was like this line cook from Banff who was supposed to be put in there. He was like a jock guy. So they had an alternate in Kyle, who was the other jock guy, but he's also from Alberta and just a different kind of an athlete. And they threw him in instead, which I think we'll see how he comes across. His intro package was very much like the alternate who was cut, Ethan.
Okay.
But they never went in the house. Clearly this Ethan never went in the house. He was never on stage. They did bring in them in, they revealed the captains first, right? Ooh. So they said there's gonna be these two captains. That's who's gonna come in first. And the two captains end up being Kiefer for Team Defender and Tina for Team Destiny. So I thought this was extremely interesting. Now, we talked about who we would have voted for. I think we were both Kiefer fans last time, Jaemeel. I voted for Kiefer. I also voted for Julie. She did not get picked here as a captain, although she would end up on Kiefer's team. Here Tina gets picked as the captain, and we also have this East-West thing with Kiefer being from the extreme West. Up in Haida Gwaii, and then we have Tina from Newfoundland. So it was kind of interesting. They get to go in first. They got to go into this incognito OLG party room or game room, they called it, right? And so they go in there and they get to watch the groups of four as they come in, but they don't get to hear them talk. They can only watch them visually, which I think it's still a pretty amazing advantage to get to observe, see who's clicking with who, right up until
the body language when people interact.
Yes, getting those moments, and then they got to come out at the very end and introduce themselves, right? So there was sort of like this dynamic there. However, they didn't get that initial bonding moment. Maybe you could argue the merits of how valuable that is in the game. Or not, but they talked about how these two teams are going to have to fight, live, work together, or die alone, probably, right? Like they're I lost. That they are going to have to live in the same bedrooms together, because we know that those two bedrooms, especially in this Big Brother Canada house, are extremely important to how the house guests socially interact. I think the Big Brother Canada is adjusting their rules to account for how their players play the game and to try to sort of create more of a framework that the audience can understand around the social dynamics.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We'll see if it works. It's an interesting part of this social experiment because it's kind of forced in some ways, because you're kind of putting people who were drafted together to force to like live in a room together, which they might have not done otherwise.
Like I don't have an issue with Big Brother, US, Canada, whatever, trying different things. That's cool, right? Understanding when to cut your losses, that's important. Trying to keep something that isn't working, that's the problem that a lot of these shows have, mostly on the US side, I might add. So when you tell me something like this, I'm like, hey, let's give it a go. Let's see if this creates additional tension, where people want to click with other people, and that causes an issue with the bedroom group. That's more drama, right? I'm here for, as long as it's like gameplay related. That's what I want. Gameplay drama. Give it to me.
Yeah, like it's like I think that they're shaking it up, and I'm all for it. We'll see how it plays out. If it doesn't work, you adjust, right? You can
Yeah,
make slight adjustments, and I think that's what you should do with a season over season format like this. You're a ninth season. You need to evolve your game to suit the types of players, how the audience wants to see it, all these things, and you can't be too hung up on being faithful. I think to the U.S. version, which is stayed very entrenched in its traditions, right? It's like it's kind of like certain sports leagues. Well, they'll be more like liberal on evolving certain parts of their games,
yeah.
whereas other like baseball maybe is an example, not so much.
It seems for the U.S. side, their changing of their time slots have more of an impact than like the in the game and changes of how they present the game, as opposed to um, fatigue. I find like gameplay fatigue. Um, I think they need to change it up, and they should be taking more inspiration from Big Brother Canada than the reflection, the
Yeah, well,
reverse.
I think that they have a lot to learn from each other in certain respects, but I was very happy with how this premiere went tonight. So the first group of four they brought in was Julie, Beth, Tashawn, I'm sorry, and and doing it again, and Kyle.
Oh, I was
So
I voted that it was going to be Vanessa in the first group.
you mean
In the
Victoria?
OLG, in the OLG, they had like a whole lottery, pick'em fantasy league,
Yeah,
and there was
I'm
one of
doing
the
that.
questions. One of the questions was who was the first person to get in, and I'm like, there's a chance that I'm not going to pick the right one, but let them be in the first group, and I picked Vanessa, and I was wrong. Oh,
You mean
sorry,
Victoria?
Victoria. Yes,
Yeah,
I corrected myself. I got it.
that was great. You
It's
called it like
episode
three
one,
names
folks.
there.
It's episode
Yeah,
one,
it's
folks.
episode one. You're learning the names. It's okay.
Yes.
Yeah. But it was interesting. Those four. Those are four pretty good-looking people. They're strong personalities, but not necessarily like super. Beth is a very like extroverted kind of person, but the other three, Julie to a certain extent. But I say these two guys, Tashawn and Kyle, kind of like, hey, how's it going? Like they're kind of more like that kind of vibe. And so they come in, and then we go to commercial. We get their intro packages, and then Arissa did this like pretty touching, pretty deep address to like First Nations respect and the fact that the Big Brother house is on the traditional land of many First Nations and Mississauga tribes and and others. And there was it was more a little bit more than you would normally see. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, wow, I was kind of hit me. And then they were like, and back to the show. And then
Did
we
you
got
find it
the
distracting?
not distracting. I was not. It was just like it was more just like a little unexpected. I think, but Big Brother is expect the unexpected.
Ooh. How
In
was the
terms,
first group of intro packages? I'm sorry, I'm going to hit you with questions. Um, like what stood out? Who stood out in their intro package from what we saw in the little glimpse that we had in their like 2 minute videos that we got earlier on that we did a lot of our assessment on? Like, did this intro package provide any new context? Did you
no,
find
it was
or?
all the same content. In fact, it was more edited down in most cases to fit for the show. So we got nothing really new on any of these people tonight. It was not different than what they had released on the internet or like on their website in terms of what we voted on. So the only thing else we got was how they came in. And I mentioned that first group kind of like came in. They were sort of like hello, and then they went to commercial. We had the address, and then it was like okay, next group, and so we got their packages. And so then it becomes about this group of four coming in and meeting that group of four for me because I'm not reacting so much to who these people are a second time because I already kind of know who they are, you know. But I think Josh had a few new clips maybe in his package when he came in. Josh was in the second group
Okay.
with Latoya and Jedson and Austin. And that was kind of interesting because again, like it's another strong four kind of beautiful people type. Because the last group is Rohan, Victoria, Braden, and Tara, which they're all respectively sort of they don't fit in as well for different reasons,
Yeah.
right? Age or just personality or just kind of different aspects of them. And so it was to watch all that kind of occur. And what we see in when the first group and the second group interact is that Jedson and Tashawn immediately connect and they go, "Hey, we got each other," right? Like for whatever reason, like they're big, too strong powerful alpha guys, they connect right away. But Kyle's not part of that. He's there too, but he's not part of that. So that was kind of one of the only kind of moments that I really noticed there. It was just kind of like people kind of talking. They didn't really give us a lot of interaction otherwise.
Okay.
And then the next group again, like, so this group that came in the fourth, when Tara and Victoria come in, because they are definitely the most energetic.
Yeah.
They start going. I feel like Latoya kind of jumps in on that too a little bit, and so then
Like
there's
they
that
feed
kind
off
of
each other's energy,
they
and it
feed off
just
each other, because and Julie kind of gets in on it too. And so a lot of the ladies here are sort of in terms of who's going to be like exciting, energetic, because we don't have like Kiefer here yet. We don't have like, and Tina. They're not in the mix at this point.
Mhm.
They're so removed. And at this point, Kiefer is saying to Tino, "How do you want to just like split our draft, guys and girls?" Right? Tina immediately rejects it and says no.
Which is smart.
Yeah, she was just like no, and you could just tell like Tina was like, I know that would be the worst, right? Like, and we would lose, right? So because for various reasons, I don't, which I would want to get into, but I don't think it would go very well. And so she was smart to do that. I thought she ends up with the first pick. So then, not long after this, they bring out the other two, and then they all join. Now we have all 14 together. It is so good, by the way, that Daryl ended up dropping out of our draft anyway, because it doesn't look like they're bringing in more than 14. I think they're sticking with this 14. We might get somebody next week coming in, but it would almost be like a reset from this week. So
I think they're going to avoid it. I think they
be.
just want, at this point, just the feeling I get of what happened last year to this year. They just want a tight season. They just want to go through and just have. I think this might be one of the most pure seasons of Big Brother from since like maybe 15. 15 minus the controversies, mind you, right? 15 wasn't stupid crazy in terms of it, because it all it had was the Team America, right, as the twist, right? For US 15. So
that was Team America was 16.
So team what was 15? Wasn't
15
it
was the
secret vote for? Wasn't it with Alyssa?
Oh, Alyssa, she had like the special vote, like nominee or whatever that year and stuff. Yes, that's right. Alyssa.
So it wasn't Team
Riley?
America, but it was like a specific vote. Comparison to the wacky, everyone gets a power, seasons that we've been getting in the last like 8 or so years, both Canada and US. I think this is going to be pretty straightforward.
Yeah, like I think that this team format is interesting, because they've tried team formats before. I think it was in 16. They also had like this some teams where you had 2 HOHs, and then they would sort of, their nominees would battle.
They had to battle the block, I believe.
But we saw that the players mostly gamed that, or right away. They found ways to rig it towards whatever their alliances were anyway. And that's what now we have like this Destiny Defender. I'm interested to see like how this plays out, because like, for instance, Tashawn and Jedson end up on separate sides here, even though they were like going to be some kind of a duo. They were like at least indicating they were willing to work with each other almost right away. And so now they're on different sides. How much is that going to matter? How much, are they going to go whatever? That's like, it won't last forever. We won't. Destiny Defender will be nothing. Or will it mean something almost like Survivor, like Tribes, where those original lines are going to have meaning? It's going to be, I think that's kind of what the production is trying to go for here, but whether it will play out, I don't know.
Which, hey, if you want to take from Survivor, there's a lot of positive aspects that you can be taking from. And if you're going to manage your teams like that, which if they are taking inspiration from Survivor, that means in 3 or 4 weeks there could be a shuffle. And when people get near to the jury, they have that merge episode. I don't mind it. Let's see how it plays, especially when eliminations come. But please continue.
Well, yeah, because we don't even have a head of household now. This captain in that ends up winning this challenge, at least in this first week, is kind of almost like a de facto HOH in a sense. But because both captains immediately had safety, by the way. I don't know if I've mentioned that yet, but
Okay. I figured so.
Kiefer and Tina are off the board either way. And so, but then they drafted their teams. Tina ends up with the first pick overall over Kiefer. She wins. Her team wins the coin flip, and so she takes Tashawn first.
Ooh, okay, interesting.
Right. So Kiefer responds with a pick of Jedson, immediately splitting those two up.
Well,
right?
if like that's a pretty smart plan as well, because you don't want the two of them to kind of gain any momentum, and plus you have the opposing forces as well on different teams. You don't want it to be too stacked.
I think that, like, assuming that Kiefer and Tina both saw that they had connected, and if they saw that moment where they were like looking like they were like, hey, and they talked and they were kind of almost whispering to each other, it's possible that Tina and Kiefer saw that and said, we should break those two up just to, as much as you and I can work together on different sides of whatever this is. Because naturally, that's what I think I would try to do if I was put in the position of captain and I was put in that room with the other captain, whether I meant it or not. I would say, like, hey, we should try to work together because you're the first person I'm meeting in this game, and we could be here a long time together. So this could be a beginning. This could be a beginning of a relationship that goes way beyond captains and this kind of these early rounds.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Absolutely.
Just getting back to so at this point, we got the two picks on each side for Destiny and Defender. Tara goes next to the Destiny side, followed by Latoya going over to the Defender side.
Okay.
We have Kyle, who ends up with Destiny, and then to Julie, who goes to Defender. Somewhere here, Josh got drafted, but I missed it. Okay, Josh is going to be one of the most interesting characters on this show. I think he is a very, very different kind of guy.
Yes.
He is a very interesting person. So far, I'm kind of curious to see how he fit, like, and how these teams will shake out, and just what the team Josh ended up on. We'll see.
Which team did Josh get on?
Well, he's on the Defender team. He's on Kiefer's team
with Latoya and Julie. Ooh,
with Latoya and Julie and Jedson and Rohan and Braden.
Oh no!
Right?
Oh, no.
It's like, okay, and then over on this other team, you have Tina, Tashawn, Tara, Kyle, Beth, Austin, and then as well as Victoria.
Jeez.
And Victoria tonight goes on to be the MVP and wins this eventual toxic sludge proportions contest, where it comes down to, in the very, very final end of this challenge tonight, where they have to hold on to buckets, which are basically based on their body weight.
Yeah.
Which Victoria versus Rohan.
So all my poo-pooing of Rohan in the pre-draft, and he makes it to the end of the first HOH or MVP event.
I would say your poo-pooing of Rohan was completely justified.
Okay.
All of his testimonials and diary room sessions tonight made me cringe. Okay, because he's such an egomaniac. He's such a guy who can't handle, the fact that he's he could be in a position where nobody likes him or whatever. You can tell he has like this anxiety and sort of this self-centered sort of mentality around it. Like, I've seen players like him before. I don't think it's good. I think he's got high quit potential.
Oh,
I think
Lord.
so. Yes. I hope not. I'm not saying so, but I think he fits that archetype to me, because you see these players who get in there and they just can't get over themselves, right? But I'm hoping Rohan's not that, but I fear he is. And every session tonight where he's like, well, I don't want to lose because then I'd be the loser. Also in this draft, the fact that he went pretty low down in the draft. He wasn't the last pick. That ends up being Braden, but he's very close to being. He's like the third last pick, Rohan, in this thing, and Braden ends up as the very, very last, as he did in our draft.
Yeah.
So it was kind of interesting to see that they followed very similar lines to what we drafted to how these players kind of shook out the teams.
Ooh, okay. It looks like we're all on the same page for the most part. I have a couple questions, but I'm going to wait till later on, because I think it's going to include some more results of what you're going to provide today.
Well, I want to get into a little bit more detail on this safety challenge that they end up to the two teams, and it comes down to they're holding buckets that are full of basically water that are proportionate to their weight or something like along those lines, right? So the bigger guys have more weight than the smaller people, and then the captains are given this option to push buttons that they can start filling up buckets with more weight, right? And then they have the option of who to give it to. So Kiefer decides to kind of distribute this across all the players on the Destiny side, whereas Tina chooses to specifically target Jetson on the defender side, just giving him more. But it's not. Jetson actually holds on for quite a while. So they go out in this order. Beth is the first one to drop.
Makes sense.
And then Josh goes next. And there was all this kind of anxiety with Josh because they were saying, I don't want to be the first one out. If I'm the first one out, that was going to mean something. I've heard this in the past where Big Brother Canada has this thing where if you're the first to drop in the first challenge, well, I guess it's that guy because everybody saw him and everybody looked at him because he was the first one out. So nobody wants to be the first one out. And I think even more so if it's a guy. And I think if with Beth going out here, I think that maybe helped Josh because Beth's first to go, and then Josh seconds later, like not very long after, drops.
Just held on until she was gone.
Yeah, neither of them have the upper body strength so much. Julie was next to drop, although held on for a little bit longer. Kyle next, and then to Jedson, who was just given a ton of weight. From Tina, and then to Sean right after. He just wanted to hold on for as long as Jetson did or something. Then it's like the final three here, we have Latoya, then to Austin and Brayden.
Yeah.
So it's Brayden. So the final three were Brayden, Victoria, and Rohan. But Brayden went out a little earlier, and then we get Victoria versus Rohan. And these were three that I was like, okay, these are kind of like a little bit of the misfits, I think. We'll say, I'm not sure about Victoria, but she seems like she may not be everyone's favorite. We'll see. She might be everyone's favorite. I can't quite tell yet. It's either they're gonna love her or not so much.
I'm hoping the former because I did draft her.
Yeah, me too. I'm hoping for good things in Victoria. Yeah. It's good to be. It's also going to be on the personality of these particular house guests and how much of maybe that they enjoy. If you understand.
So with Brayden, are you getting Gary Glitter vibes from him, or were you impressed? But do you think it was just like one challenge? That's it.
Well, Brayden was interesting tonight to watch because he was very sassy. I thought he was making a lot of quips. He was making like little when they said gather house guests. We had our first like twist of the season. He was making sort of like kind of these jabby comments. And later on, some similar things, and so I think he's trying to be the funny one in the house. I don't know, if he's getting the laughs. I'm not sure, but he seems to be kind of be like the class clown is what he hopes to be.
So we have to wait and see if we start hearing like if he gets like a theme song that plays in the background of his scenes. We'll see if he gets the Zach Rance treatment, the Johnny Mac. They're gonna give him a lot of DRs. I could certainly see that happening.
Yeah, like they did not give us much in terms of Rohan. I think had the most confessionals tonight, aside from maybe Kiefer and Tina. Okay. And they weren't that exciting. It was Austin was featured a bit. They all had at least a moment probably in there. But Latoya barely had any of her. Josh was not shown a lot. It was kind of.
I don't expect anything from those two. Like Latoya seems a little bit too like rigid, and any suggestions or questions from like production, I don't really see her like kind of just giving in and giving them what they want.
No, I don't think she's that eager to please. Right. I don't think she's that eager to please is kind of the is what it comes down to. I don't know. Like we'll see about Latoya because I don't know where she's going to fit in terms of the social dynamics here. This Destiny thing and who's on it. Like if there's any kind of showmance here with like, let's say a Kyle and a Beth, if that becomes a thing, or See, Victoria, I don't know where she fits in. Tashawn is also here too, right? So you have and they, I think they were it was kind of interesting because I think they were kind of trying to put Austin and Jedson as maybe a potential showmance, although however they're on different sides here in these teams at the moment. There was kind of showing that they almost had like they synchronized in their intro packages tonight, Jaemeel, between Austin and Jedson, where they would say, if it happens, it happens, or something like that, right? Yeah.
Ooh.
They could be meant for each other. She might be the destiny that Jedson wishes he had. He so wishes he was drafted to that team.
Yeah,
he so wishes he was on that team.
He's like, please shake up, please shake up.
Yeah, because I feel like they're like, we wish you were here too, but you're not. So, and I think that's good because I think that at least that the team of the Defender, which is made up of these people who maybe traditionally would have been just sort of the minority alliance, are almost forced into this position here of going, yeah, okay, we have to work. We're on a team and whatever, but there will also be this demoralizing factor. And I think like, I'm not saying that this is not a complaint, but I think we could see something similar to a Survivor season where one alliance or one tribe sort of does very well.
We see a pagogging happen.
A pagogging. I hope not. The best thing would be to see the two teams go back and forth. And I'm sure that's what production ultimately wants, is to sort of see a back and forth power struggle, at least for a couple weeks until they shake it up or do a redraft or whatever they want to do, or go even just do a traditional HOH format.
Yeah.
But I also like the other big thing that they talked about tonight was that that the nominees are now going to vote in this game.
Ooh.
And what that does.
Gosh, that's like a whole bunch of math. You have to redo your entire math game theory if that's the case.
Because that can really, especially later on in when the numbers are lower, if nominees can vote, that does change something. But don't they just cancel each other out if the nominees can only vote for each other?
They can throw hinky vote. Well, no, yeah, no, because actually it might promote people like doing an additional vote.
I have to understand why, because unless there's three, I would understand it if there were three nominees.
Yeah,
that's the only reason two nominees would be allowed to vote, because they're the only two options, so they can only vote for each other. It's kind of a redundant thing, unless you have a third nominee.
Man, they might do a third nominee.
And how is that decided?
Based on an HOH and then maybe something that is voted. I wonder, are we gonna see more of a Big Brother UK kind of situation, where
Jody said here, Big Brother sucks, Star Trek's better. Woohoo! Live long a podcast. This is not Live Long a Podcast night. We're on Big Brother night, Jody.
Thank you, Jody, for supporting us by watching.
Thank you for supporting the Star Trek podcast.
Yes, and well, thank you for supporting this one. You are obviously watching what we're doing. Please make sure, Jody, yourself, and any of our other listeners, go to whatever platform you are listening to us on, and give us 5 stars or give us a thumbs up, whatever it is. Promote this this podcast as well, the video on YouTube. There's a multitude of ways you can share and support this wonderful cast.
Yes. And, yes. Thank you, Jaemeel. Well said. Well said. Yeah. Whatever you're into, we're here. We have a network of podcasts where we talk about all kinds of things that are not necessarily connected to each other. Big Brother is very different than our Star Trek podcasts, but
they're interconnected in that we like them, and we hope that you like them.
They have
us
talking
talking about it. Yes.
They have us in common. They don't really. Otherwise not as much. But yes. I think we'll see a third nominee tomorrow, potentially, and what that will look like. That could be another Canada votes. I want to say America votes. I'm still in the Big Brother USA 22 mode, which I should not be. I don't want to be saying congratulations, Cody, or anything like that.
Do you have that sound clip handy?
Oh, I sure do.
Oh, yeah. Congratulations, Cody.
Did it play?
No, it didn't play.
I must have moved the file.
That's okay. You're just making space for all the Canadian quips that you're going to be putting in.
It's true. Oh, I know how to fix it, but it's too late.
No worries. Okay. My question that I was kind of holding back on even asking you: did you find that what seeing the clips and now actually seeing a full episode of Big Brother, was there any opinion about a person that has changed, or whose opinion that you observed changed the greatest?
Um, like they mostly nobody really like I really surprised me. I think Victoria was the one who's maybe the most because I got a little bit more of her personality. I got her diary room where she was out there like everyone was pretending they were having a hard time holding onto the bucket, and then she was like, oh, I guess I'll act like it's hard for me. And she's like, oh my God, I can't hold on. She, of course, ends up winning this thing. Right. And so I was like, that seemed, this was before I found out she won this, but I was like, that seemed unnecessary. It seemed unnecessary for you to whine about how hard this is for you if you are intending to go on to win this. But it
And
just
then she
seems like,
actually wins.
I just don't even think I didn't because maybe it was because of the diary room session, but I didn't really believe her. And if I was in the room, I would have felt she was sincere. So I don't see I see that doing more harm to her game than good by acting like that. That's all. It's just like, and so that's an indication she's not the brightest in terms of like how she's being perceived,
Okay.
and how that's going to play out in the game. So I guess she's more of my disappointment here.
Okay.
But there
Okay.
wasn't a lot. We didn't get a ton like of moments or anything in terms of game. We got a little bit of Tina and Kiefer. We got a little bit, very very little bit of Jedson and Tashawn. Um, we saw maybe there's a potential Jedson Austin showings if they want to go along with production. I don't know what else. Like there in terms of like how this is going to play out dynamically, there's still too many question marks. We might I think we're going to have more to talk about tomorrow night after maybe there's some live feeds coverage that's going to come out overnight and into tomorrow morning
Did
that
they
we're
say
going to
when
get.
live feeds are going to start?
They haven't yet, no. And there was some speculation they could go live tonight after the first episode, or that it might be tomorrow night, even after these first two episodes have gone before the next episode, which would I guess be Monday. So to help fill those days, they might want to release feeds then. But we know that they've been in the house, we think, for a number of days actually. Like this premiere was not necessarily live. Now that's why we thought that we might have seen what was his name, Ethan, go in and then replaced with Kyle at some point. But that's not how this was at least shown. If that did happen, it wasn't done. But we know that in the U.S. version, they go into the house on a certain night, but the live feeds don't start till later,
Yeah.
right? So Canada does it a little differently in that they show you them going into the house a few days after it's actually happened. This didn't happen today.
No,
This happened a
you're
few days
absolutely right.
ago, and then they train them basically in the art of being on a TV show all the time, having to wear your microphone, what not to talk about, what not
Don't
to use.
sing. Yeah.
Don't sing, don't use copyrighted things. Like there's almost like, because they don't want to have to constantly take down the feeds or do certain things, so that you have to almost go through a crash course once you're in the house, especially for these people who've never been on the show. Maybe less so in like an all-star season
Yeah.
or something along those lines.
Josh, you cannot talk about that.
Yeah.
Josh,
McCrae,
put on
stop
your
singing.
microphone. Put on your microphone.
That was in Big Brother 15 when it was always like, stop singing. And it was always McCrae like in the kitchen doing dishes, singing a
Yeah.
song or something. Couldn't help himself. Or you'd hear like, just put on your microphone.
Ooh.
I have like a timer that goes off. I gotta fix that.
The only time that they really let people sing is I don't think it was 15. I think it was season 17, or it could have been one of the like over the top episodes seasons. But there was a gentleman making pizza, and he made like a song about it, like "Gonna have some pizza, gonna have some pizza, y'all." So the people remixed it online because it made like the actual show, right? And It's something that I share with my niece still. Whenever we're having pizza, she'll start singing the pizza song. All she knows is from Big Brother, and that I love it. That's it.
It's from
Um,
that season.
yeah, just it's my favorite. I don't even know what season it's from. It's gonna be one of those things I'm gonna remember from Big Brother the most. Dan's gameplay and the pizza are really up there in terms of my Mount Rushmore of Big Brother moments.
No, I don't know. It's for me. It's like when people are screaming at each other in the house and these big blow up moments. I think those are what I live for the most in Big Brother. Is sort of like when things sort of come to a confrontation. I love seeing the players like play right too. Just like be willing, be bold, be willing to take risks, be willing to challenge authority or sort of the status quo.
Okay, is Topaz mishap in your top 10?
Oh yeah, it's classic. Topaz is the best because she voted. She was
She
ride or
gave the
die with Gary Glitter, and she
Yeah, she
voted
gave it to
for
Emmett. No,
gave
not
it to
Emmett. Sorry, not Emmett. It
um
was
the, the
Jedson.
woman,
No, Madison. No, not Madison. I feel bad.
the one from Nova Scotia. What's her name?
Yes, and she was awesome too. She played a. I felt that she played a. It was Emmett and Emmett and. Oh, I feel terrible. Don't take my Big Brother card because I can't
Jillian
remember.
McLaughlin.
Huh?
Jillian McLaughlin.
Jillian McLaughlin. Jillian and Emmett. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Part of the was it Beast Coast Alliance
Yes, the
with
East Coast
Andrew.
Alliance
With
with
Andrew.
Andrew
See,
because he was
the
neutral.
old man from. How is it that I remember the Beast Coast Alliance? I remember Andrew and Emmett, and I couldn't remember the winner. Shame on me.
Jillian,
Shame on
but
me.
because she was almost not the winner. It was supposed to be Gary Glitter, and or it was almost Gary Glitter, very close, but it's not Gary Glitter. It's Jillian McLaughlin because Topaz got the wrong key in the box. Of course, it's one of the best moments ever
Yeah,
in
it's
the
awesome.
history.
It's
Didn't
awesome.
vote for her best friend. Didn't understand how it worked or something. And it was hilarious because they after when you vote at the end for the winner, they tell you like so and so voted for this person and
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, it's the best.
Arissa, no, that's not who I voted
No,
for.
no, 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 no. Redo. She's like, no, it doesn't work. No, we asked you. We said, do you understand how this works? You said yes. You
So,
remember that?
folks, whenever you're like, who does not understand these directions? Why do they have to constantly repeat it? Thank you, Topaz. Thank you.
Yeah. This is why they every plane I've ever been on, they always like, this is how seatbelts work, which I don't have to do when I ride the bus or when I get into a car. It's not like there's
Buses do have
instruction
seatbelts, though.
but they don't tell. They're not an instruction manual each time on how to use it. Like they just
Well,
expect
they
you to
put the
go there.
instructions on like the window, which doesn't really make any sense because if you're a disabled person, which is most likely going to be using the seatbelt, you're not going to turn your turn your chair to the side and zoom in closely so you can read the description while the bus is moving, while the bus is waits for you to catch up and be able to secure yourself properly.
It's true. That's true. People need instructions. Every time, but because I was always like, I want to listen to music when they're telling me how to use the plane, like the seatbelt on the plane. They're like, no, just in case you've never seen this, you need to see. You
I
need to
pay,
know.
I'm such a paranoid person. I pay attention every time. I
You're
can't help
you're
it.
very noble. I'm always like, no, I've done it for years. I'm fine.
Noble? No. Scare out of my mind? Yes.
It's like, just in case, I'm going to do exactly what you're asking me to do.
Where's
Yeah.
the parachute?
um, and that was kind of it in terms of like what happened tonight.
Okay.
That there wasn't much more to the episode. I'm kind of curious to see where this plays out and like, is this too soon for them to evict somebody? Do we need to do it in the second night of the show, episode 2?
If it's Josh, no. I'm sorry. Like I feel like I'm like he's a dead man walking already just because of like from what I've seen, which is an actual episode, just from his preview. I feel that man is a dead man walking. He's not making it. I think he would annoy people too much if he lets his personality and his attitude just shine through.
Well, I just don't know who he's going to connect with. Maybe like, are him and Braden and Rohan going to be a trio?
That's a really weird trio, especially with the Braden side.
Well, like who's Braden's best friend going to be? Okay. Let's talk about this defender team and who is likely to leave from it. We know Kiefer's safe, so then
Yeah.
we have Jedson, Latoya, Julie, Rohan, Braden, Josh.
I think Braden and Julie could kind of connect, or that's just me hoping like the LGBT like folks stick together.
But Josh
Uh,
is in that too. He's gay too.
yeah. Oh, sorry,
Uh,
Josh. But is it like Josh is like more on the
Josh is, I don't like, he's a different energy than Julie and Braden are, for sure. But
but is
it's
Josh going to be talking about like I get from Julie and Braden that they have like interests that like kind of intersect. Like both of them seemed extremely fashionable
yes.
and have
That's what I mean by
similar.
the energies. That's what
Yeah,
I feel like they have more in common. That they are going to intersect more. Josh feels like he's a they might have this the community aspect, but there's also the whole the
dude seems like a little
personalities.
wackadoodle kind of. He seems
Yeah,
like he's gonna be focusing on like, hey, conspiracy theory. And they're like, yeah. So I like the way that you take care of your foundation, and I feel like there's different aspects that Julie and Braden can connect with, and that I think a lot of people can connect with those things, especially when it comes to fashion, makeup, social media. Whereas I get Josh is very like
the
if
most
there was
likely
someone,
scenario is that it's Rohan and Josh would connect because they would all they would have left is each other. They're at least
I
on the same
guess.
team, and they would at least have each other. And they're kind of both. They seem to be more outcasts or more like loners, and so they might. But if one, it's probably one of those two who I think are most likely to go first.
Okay.
Maybe Braden, but I feel like Braden's got way more connections already. I don't have a lot of evidence to that other than the very little bit they showed us tonight. That he seems to be at least making jokes in the room, and they're putting it on the show. So
Well, people might appreciate it. I think, yeah. If it was up to me, it would be Rohan and Josh that would be nominated.
Rohan and Josh.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, and let's say it's Josh who goes, for instance. Then okay, then we're left with this team that still consists of Kiefer now, which presumably would not be safe next week. Jedson, Latoya, Julie, Rohan, and Braden would be left.
Hmm.
And so, and then we have another safety challenge. We'll see how that plays out. But I still like Destiny's odds. I still think that they're the stronger team. They seem to be on paper. However, and Victoria was sort of the unlikely hero for them tonight in this challenge. And all credit and respect paid to Victoria in terms of what she
But
did.
if something comes around where it's more traditionally physical or traditional like game sportish, then you have the bodies on that team that can, you know, be the MVP, and Kiefer's tribe, is left in the dust.
Well, I think what would have been interesting to see is if Destiny had lost this challenge, which they nearly did, right? So if Victoria had dropped before Rohan and then Defender wins, then I think what seems to me who are the most likely like a bottom of the order or of the alliance, if you will, would be probably Victoria and probably um, maybe Tara, right?
Okay.
I think it's probably Tara and Victoria because I don't know who else. I just feel like with Tina being safe too. Uh, I just don't see Kyle, Beth, and Austin and Tashawn. Um, I see them naturally sort of just staying tight, but I could be mistaken. I'm
Yeah.
making assumptions based on archetypes and history of what you see in the game and how people who are like because they're sort of in a kind of a group like a model group almost, right? Like and
It may,
like the red
yeah, you're absolutely right. I could see exactly where you're coming from. So
with Tara
yeah.
being a mom, Victoria sort of being just kind of this. I think she's just sort of like an everyday person, right? Like not necessarily like a TD or a model or whatever. Like I feel like Austin and Tashana, they're much more like I want to be out there. I want to be on camera, at least right now. And they're both smart people too. Will clearly have their own careers as well, and in all respect there as well. But I just that's what was so interesting here with it being Victoria and Rohan being the ones who ultimately are holding on. And how do you vote out Rohan if he's the one who held on for you until the end? Right? He was the last guy out on your team, last person to drop, and you
Take
still
the
vote him
L.
off.
Yep. I can't stand this dude. If I can't stand you in a minute and change like video, I'm
Right.
sorry. No, you're not.
Jane
long
thought
for-
that was his like workplace break room. I said no, that was his like suite he rented down on some but
Yeah.
then when he's walking out of the building, I think I know that building. I feel like that's an office building that he walks out in front of in the very beginning of
Does
his
he have a
package.
does he really have a job, or is this just this credit card scheme where he just has those 9 glasses and that coffee machine that he keeps moving around?
Yeah, well, there's all these wine. I was like, why do you have all these wine glasses? It looks like a setup for like a function, like you're at a hotel or you're somewhere where they set this up.
Yeah.
Like you thought it was maybe like an Airbnb or something he had like picked up somewhere. I think that there's a high likelihood, or he could have been in just some kind of a corporate suite, like rented it, something that's not even quite like an apartment, but yeah, it just didn't quite feel like anything lived in. He had all his like particular clothes on, like we talked. He's very contrived, and who is the real Rohan?
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know. I need to know.
I need to know. We're gonna find out. Other than that, there's not a whole lot else to talk about. The one other thing I did mention was that Defender had to go on slop for tonight.
Ooh.
That was one of Braden's little quips. He was not happy about it. He was like, "What are you saying? Well, you better not," or something along those lines.
Well, they got to get used to it. So it's a season. Slop isn't that bad.
Yeah, but they were and Rissa was having to apologize. One night only. Don't worry. It's all good. And then, however, this is going to play out. But are you okay if we don't have any HOHs? If the HOH room's not even open for a while, is that good?
When they decide to drop the teams, that's not a problem to me.
Well, yeah, and when is the right time? Do you think ideally, like
3 or 4 weeks?
So let this play out for a bit.
Yeah.
And does the HOH room just stay locked for this whole time? Because that's a whole bathroom you're also cutting off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Let them suffer.
Like
I'm legit. Like when it comes to Big Brother, I feel like I wish there was a little bit more UK influence. Where I'm sorry, you're not going to get what you want all the time, and there's going to be situations that are going to be suck, and people are going to be given better opportunities than what you did. You just got to roll with the punches and just kind of still be a force that is able to succeed. And if someone does something wrong, the entire team suffers, right? The entire household suffers. So.
Can you imagine though? Like, yeah, if somebody like broke like the slop rule, and it was like, then your whole team must now do push-ups or something.
Hey.
in that light, where the team, your behavior could affect your team and could affect your standing in the game long term. That stuff does work and doesn't work. Depends on how strategic players are.
True.
What else? True. I think it was mostly it. I want to see. I would like to see them just keep this going for a bit. We don't need traditional HOH. Let them bond.
Yeah. I agree too. Give me those feeds, please.
I need the feeds. I need to know more.
The feeds.
Okay. Well, I think we might call it early tonight because there's not a whole lot more content to go through yet. But in the days to come, weeks to come, we'll be here for 10 more weeks. First person evicted tomorrow night, so we will be here at 9 p.m. Thursday to cover part 2 of this premiere. Kind of talk about the history of the game, see what other information we can kind of gather between now and then, if anything. I'm hoping they'll have something going.
I can watch the episode finally because it's starting at 10 again.
Yeah, Jaemeel can actually see it and react to it, and maybe we can talk about things maybe we didn't cover here tonight that you
Jameel's observations.
Jameel's observations, Dave's omissions, I think we should call it. This is the stuff you didn't discuss, Dave. I think you'll find I was very thorough.
I thought so too. I thought you were very thorough. I was like, I could kind of picture it in my mind's eye.
I felt like a reporter tonight. I was like, Jameel, coming in at this hour, Big Brother. There was Jedson, and he was seen with Tashawn in the hallway.
Oh.
Okay, so we'll be back tomorrow night. Super Mader Brothers Podcasting. Thanks for watching. Big Brother Canada 9, 10 more weeks. Also, check out our other channels. We also have Live Long and Podcast, where we talk about Star Trek. If you heard Jody saying earlier,
Jody approved.
We love talking about Star Trek over there. On Tuesdays, we talk about Deep Space Nine. We just talked about the House of Quark last night. We're in season 3. We're watching all those episodes in order. We've been going for months, almost a year. We've been watching Deep Space Nine episodes together on Wednesdays with my dad and a bunch of others, including Adam Woodward, Jody, and my brother when he shows up and there's not a Leafs game. We watch the original series, and we watch all these random, not in order, Star Trek original series. And I go, Dad, what do you think of this episode? He goes, well, it's pretty good, but there's a weird alien in it. If you want to check that out, check it out on Wednesday nights, Live Long and Podcast.
Yes.
We also did all like the Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Lower Decks, Star Trek Picard. We've done Star Trek movie rewatches. There's all kinds of great stuff. And Star Trek Radio Theater.
Yes.
Coming Saturday night to a Live Long and Podcast near you. Get this down here for just a second. We have this Saturday night, our friend Mott will be playing Captain Kirk, my wife Jane playing Mr. Spock. We got Ashley Millard as McCoy, Kevin's playing Rager. This is a great story. We're doing the Return of the Archons. Adam Woodward is Marplon, my brother and I playing a bunch of characters too. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you want to just hear us read the script of Star Trek with some sound effects, you can check that out on Saturday night at 9 p.m. And we also have Trivial Debates, our other channel, where we argue about movies, TV, sports, and more. Jameel is the reigning champion. You can listen from our Sunday episode where you were competing with Jessica Chan and Chris Seymour with Jeff hosting, arguing about all kinds of topics. And it was a great episode. It really was.
Great
a lot
episode.
of fun. And some great discussions over there where we just randomly talked about different things. So our family of podcasts are all out there. We really appreciate all the support, likes, and we hope you share it out there and leave comments. Any feedback is always welcome. So that's it for tonight. I'm Dave Mader.
I'm Jaemeel Robinson.
And Big Brother Canada 9, Super Mader Brothers Podcasting signing off. We'll see you tomorrow.